I was listening to some Steve Morse last week, and one of the things I really like about his playing, his style, is how he uses these blistering chromatic lines in his playing as well. Now, a while ago I did a video on using chromatics in your playing, and I thought I'd revisit that and focus in on one of the techniques in particular, and that's the technique that I call filling in the gaps. And really, the approach here is to pick a scale and then start to add chromatic passing notes to that scale as well. So in this case, I'm picking a B major scale. So I'm up on the 7th fret, and it's the 3 notes per string scale. Let me play through that for you. So what I'm going to do is take that scale and add an extra note per string to turn a 3 note per string scale into a 4 note per string scale. Let me demonstrate that for you. If we have a look at each string in turn, you can see between the 1st and the 3rd note of each string there's either a major third, as in the case with the 2 lower strings, or there's a minor third. Now in the case of the minor third, there is only one gap, so when you're trying to create 4 notes a string, the easiest thing to do is to just fill in that gap. So the highest strings, easily dealt with. Now the lower two, well, there are 2 gaps. So which one should you fill in? Well, it doesn't matter that much if you have a listen. If I have a preference, it's that when I'm ascending, I like to fill in the gap closest to that final note. So I prefer that one. And when I'm descending, I prefer to fill in the other one. So the note that just approaches that final note is the one that I'd normally choose, but they're both very similar to each other, so I don't lose too much sleep over this. So that gives me my scale. The next thing I want to work on is how I line that scale up. So the strong notes that I want to play line on a strong downbeat, and that helps to emphasize the key you're playing in and keeps everything in key. And the way that I do that is I try and line each group of 4 notes up on each string so that one of my fingers lands on a downbeat. So when I'm ascending, for example, I'll try and line things up so that the 4th note rather, lands on a downbeat. And the best way of doing this is to use a metronome to start to get your timing right, get your timing accurate. There are plenty of metronomes to download, metronome apps for your phone or for whatever device you use, or there's metronome online if you've got a PC and you want to log in on that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my looper pedal just to grab a single note, and I'll use that. Let me see if I can demonstrate how I line this up. So what I've done here is I've just sampled a B harmonic in my looping pedal just to give me a pulse to work with. And what I do now is I just try and line things up so that 4th note of each group of 4 lands on a downbeat, a bit like this. And it's the kind of thing where once you're in the groove, you can just start cascading, adding more together, sort of like this. And as I say, the hard thing tends to be dropping in that groove in the first place. So the thing to do is to just work with groups of 4 to see if you can find that groove to start with. Okay, so that gives me an ascending pattern, and I've got my scale lined up so my strong notes fall on a downbeat. The next thing is to work out how to turn that around so I can descend and ascend while still keeping the strong notes on that downbeat as well. And there are 2 approaches that I thought I'd talk about this week. One is how you stay in the same position, so you don't have to change position, and the other one is changing position. So let's talk about staying in position to start with. So as we've seen when we're ascending, that downbeat tends to fall on the same note in the group of 4. So I've lined everything up so that lands on the downbeat. When we're turning round in position, you find that it's still that note, but it's that note on the next string. Let me see if I can show you. So as long as you land on that note, or you change direction on that note, you'll find that you stay in time. Let me see if I can demonstrate. And in all those cases, I'm changing direction just when my little finger hits that note. That's the point that I change direction. Okay, changing position. So let me take the next position down. So if I play through that, just standard. So there's my 3-note per string scale. And just like before, when there's a minor third between the first and third notes, I just play all 4 notes. And when there's a major third, I fill in the gap of the note closest to that last note if I'm ascending. And I fill in the other note if I'm descending. But like I said before, it really doesn't matter that much once the notes start cascading and flowing through. You don't really notice which note you're using to fill in the gaps. So what I'm going to do is I ascend in the usual way, and then I change the position when I change direction. And by doing that, it puts a strong note on the first finger this time. And then I change direction to ascend again. Everything's lined up so that 4th finger plays the strong note. So let's hear that with the metronome. So that's it, that's all I really wanted to cover this week. It's fun technique. It's the kind of thing you just want to add a dash of in your solos. You don't want to do huge extended lines like this, but it really adds a little kind of a chromatic flavour to your playing if you do this, and it's quite easy to introduce to build up the technique as well. And because you've got 4 notes on a string, you find that you can play this. Once you get your speed up, you can really build the speed with these kinds of techniques. So it's quite fun to do as well. Anyway, have fun with it, and we'll chat next time. Goodbye.